All right, peace and love, you guys. Peace and love. I want to break down some information from the Guardians, the Guardian Alliance, and they gave some insight as to who the Starseeds are. I think this is very interesting because there's a lot of people right now who think that they're Starseeds because they're having an awakening, but there are indeed individuals who have incarnated into the planet in order to help with the ascension cycle. And these are particularly called celestial star seeds. A lot of them are your RH negatives, and I know that people would want to argue with that, but that is the case because they hold an energetic frequency in the blood. Now, one of the things that you'll find going forward, I'm going to do a teaching on it later on, is that the whole objective in changing the way you eat, changing your mindset and behaviors, all of those things, mind, body, and spirit, work together in order to change your molecular structure. That's your DNA. That is your blood sequencing. The object is to get your blood to the middle path, which is AB negative. That is what Yeshua the Christ was, the Christos. The Christos star seeds that have come in are RH negative, the majority of them. Now, we do have Earth seeds that are also on the planet that are also doing this work, but I'm talking about the ones who specifically incarnated into the planet. So hopefully reading this paper, this information from the Guardians will give us a little bit more insight into that. I don't know that they specifically mention RH negative, but that's just from information that I have been given from my higher guidance, is that the whole purpose behind all the work, the inner work that you do, and the detox, the adding the bioplasma, which is the philosopher's stone, because the philosopher's stone is phosphorus, which is salt that has to be added. Remember, Yeshua said, "You are the salt of the earth, and you all have lost your season, your salt. You lost your saltiness. You become the salt of the earth by bringing your blood back to balance. It's the salt that is necessary." So anyway, that's a whole nother teaching. But let's get down into this. Let's read through this now. Who are the star seeds? Contrary to earth seeds, starseeds refer to a group of beings who were not created on earth and at the end of this ascension cycle will return to their home worlds. Not all starseeds are of human species origin, although most are humans from the future timelines that have chosen to incarnate here on earth, carrying out special missions and tasks for the benefit of earth and humanity, which is generally to free humanity from this prison planet. Those starseeds are not of human origins that are nevertheless from higher frequential dimensions or timelines, have been particularly having problems with adopting or coping with life conditions on earth. These entities have a completely different morphogenic structure than humans that, for example, do not include the lowest three chakras in their bioenergetics, as they have never lived in lower dimensions than the fifth or sixth within this or other universes. And let me just say, humans are not supposed to even be in 3D. You're not supposed to be this far down. Any humanoid, okay, you begin your ascension cycle at the fifth dimension. So to fall into the third dimension, you literally are in hell. And how we fell, how you all fell, was through your biology. You fell through your body, through your DNA is actually a soul cage, which is one of the reasons why the starseeds incarnated in order to help with bioregenesis, raising your body, your blood, your energy, your bioenergetics back up to where they're supposed to be, which is the fifth dimension or the fifth density. That was what Yeshua was teaching when he came in. Not his false teachings that they put in by creating a false Jesus. But if you follow the true Essene Yeshua, the Christ, he was teaching bioregenesis. He was teaching that. Okay. So anyway, as a result, many die at birth. Others develop particular problems related to intercommunication with human beings that include such complications as autism. Now, I want to speak on that, and I'm going to try to keep my personal feelings out of this teaching, but in case you have not noticed, there has been a steady rise and increase in autism within the last 15 to 20 years. Why is that? The reason why is because there was a scheduled time during the stellar activation cycle, which is also called the planetary ascension cycle, that starseeds would incarnate in order to help Mother Gaia and humanity make a planetary ascension. Now, this is the first time that a planet, as well as the inhabitants, are going to be able to ascend together. Normally, the inhabitants' ascension occurs at a different time. So this is the first time it's happening at the same time. So it was a huge undertaking for the starseeds to come and do their work. Then we have grid workers working on Mother Gaia to help raise her frequency back so that she can make this ascension without any issues. So during the stellar activation cycle, of course, the controllers knew that this was going to take place, and it reflected in the Roe versus Wade decision back in, I believe, the early 70s. That was in preparation for the incarnating starseeds. So what you essentially had was the Supreme Court ruling in favor of abortion, making that a Supreme Court decision, saying that it was a constitutional right for a woman to, have an abortion. They knew that this stellar activation cycle was set to begin. And so essentially what you witnessed was the same thing that you saw play out in the Bible, when the Bible knew that there was going to be a significant individual incarnating, and so they went and killed all the baby boys under 2 years old. That was essentially what Roe versus Wade did, in order to kill off all of the incarnating starseeds. So if you made it past that, you were extremely, extremely lucky, because there was a concerted effort to wipe us out, which is one of the reasons why, like I said, I have an issue with individuals who on one end call themselves goddesses and divine feminine matriarchs, but on the other hand support abortion, or these individuals who are always talking about the ancestors are returning. I love my ancestors, reverence and respect to the ancestors, but you support abortion. How are your ancestors returning? How are your ancestors incarnating if you're supporting their demise? You understand? So, you're a walking dichotomy, a walking contradiction. There, you cannot be in favor of abortion and on the other hand claim that your ancestors, that you love your ancestors and your ancestors are returning. The starseeds are the ones who have come back from the future. These are the ancestors. These are the ones that made it out. They're coming back to assist. So how is it that you can support both at the same time? You cannot. They null and void each other out. Let's move on. Although they are very bright and have special skills that include mathematics or computer software programming, they're adept in working with numbers and digits. They have a problem dealing with the subject studies taught on Earth, which I've had. I wasn't, well versed in school. I did well enough to fly up under the radar, but that stuff that they were teaching in schools was not something that I care anything about. And I believe my son is the same way, and that's one of the reasons why I've removed him from school, and we're unschooling, because children with autism, if you've been around children with autism or high functioning autism, they are not programmable. It is very difficult to program them, and that is what Earth schools are for. They're to program you to be a good working slave. That is what they want you to do. And autistic children cannot be programmed. It's very difficult, and that is why, because they're not meant to be. They come from a dimension where there are no rules and indoctrination the way Earth has. So it's very hard for them to assimilate. All right. So, and those that survive birth and their early childhood, not being able to cope with low frequential traits of consciousness, such as anger, can actually proceed to harm humanity by a way of, for example, creating computer program viruses, and such is a way of getting even, as they do not know how to cope with anger. You ever seen an autistic child get angry? They can't deal with anger. They don't deal well here. They don't like rules. They don't like authority. They don't like any of that. And when you tell them to do something at a specific time or in a specific way, you will see that anger come out. And this is one of the reasons why. However, such cases are particularly rare. Some suffer extraordinarily and cannot contribute to consciousness expansion and the ascension movement properly, as they find it difficult to communicate with humanity. Now, because of the fact that I'm just going to speak for myself, being raised up the way I was, it was expected for you to go out there and deal with humanity and get along and do everything that they're supposed to do. But as I grew older, I realized that I don't do well with humans. And I know that sounds odd, but now that we're reading this from the Guardians, you understand why. I've never dealt well with humans. And it's not that I'm a mean person. It's just that I believe that the frequency, that frequency does not mix well, and it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. You don't even have to really necessarily be mean or nasty to anybody. Just your presence causes humans to get upset. And I'm talking about the RH negative starseeds, or the ones who call themselves light workers, if you need a title. And you will notice that when I speak to other individuals who are light workers, or like I said, especially RH negatives, we have all had similar experiences where people either love you or hate you. There's no middle ground. And you never do anything for people to just hate you, but there's just this underlying, I don't know what it is, but it's just this underlying hatred where people just lash out. They feel the need to lash out at you for the smallest things, most inconspicuous things. And you sitting here going, wow, I was really, I'm being nice. And then these individuals just click. This is why. We do not communicate well with humanity. And we don't mix well with them energetically. I'll just leave it like that. So why are the starseeds here? Earth is currently at a crossroads. It's at the end of an evolution cycle for humanity, which is commonly referred to as the ascension timeline. What ascension timeline entails is that it has come to the end of an era that Earth and humanity should ordinarily ascend to the higher dimensions, that based upon the extent of its development could be moving to the second or higher harmonic universes. However, as a result of invasion by the fallen non-organic negative aliens who have conquered Earth for quite some time now, at least ever since 600,000 years ago, instituting a detailed program of consciousness reversal on Earth and its human inhabitants for at least the past 8 consecutive ascension cycles, each equivalent to 26,556 years, the negative aliens have managed to thwart the process of ascension of the Earth humanity. So did y'all hear that? 8 consecutive ascension cycles we have missed because the negative aliens or the negative controllers have managed to fool us. Now, let me think about back in the 70s, there was an ascension taking place back in the early 70s. Early 70s, maybe late 70s, early 80s, around that time. No, let me back it up. The ascension cycle back around the late 60s, where everybody started waking up. You had the flower children, there was love everywhere. All of that began to happen, and everybody started coming together. As soon as everybody started coming together, what you noticed is the negative entities start bringing war. All of a sudden there was war. All of a sudden there was no more soul music. Now, me being copper tone individual remembers back in the 70s when copper tone individuals were loving each other. They used to fall in love. They used to listen to soul music. They used to listen to carbon records, vinyl records, a vinyl record with a diamond needle. Just that music, that frequency was a frequency that raised their vibration. So everybody was in a good place. As that time began to happen, the negative entities removed vinyl records and we went to CDs. They removed a whole lot of the soul music and implemented gangster rap. All of this was an attack. It was a deliberate attack, and there's so much more, but I won't go into the details. But all this happened around the same time. I had done a podcast once where I was talking about the pheromones in the hair. People don't know this, but around the same time that they took out the 432 hertz and replaced it with 440 hertz on the network, they removed the vinyl records and gave us digital and CDs. They brought in gangster rap, and they also started bringing in weave. All of a sudden, weave became big in the copper tone community. I was of age. I was in high school when ladies began to wear weave in their hair. Not wigs, weaves in their hair. And around the same time, this is when everybody in the copper tone community, I can't speak for the other communities, I'm talking about the copper tone community, where all of a sudden it began to be commonplace to shave off your body hair. Now, there weren't a lot of women, and I'm talking about older women that I knew that were actually shaving off all of their body hair, because that just was not natural, not in our community anyway. Young ladies had hair on their legs. They had hair under their arms. They may have trimmed it, but shaving your hair off like to where it looks like a pubescent teenager, no, there was none of that going on. But it started all around the same time. Now, why is this important? Because pheromones is how opposite sex fall in love. This is how they connect and fall in love, and they mate this way through the pheromones. That's what attracts them and keeps them attracted to one another. So that was very important. I just wanted to give you a little bit of information on that, since we were talking about the ascension timeline and how the negative entities, they literally have an agenda to keep humanity from connecting and coming together. They divide and conquer us. This is why men and women right now are at war against one another. All of these little things that they put to keep the families from coming together, to keep the divine masculine and the divine feminine from joining together, because that hierogamos marriage, the divine masculine and divine feminine coming together, is what is essential for ascension, and they know that. So think about that the next time you want to point fingers at the opposite sex and say they did this and they did that. You have to understand there is truly a puppet master at work. All right, let's move on. What Ascension Timeline entails is that it has come to the end of an era that humanity should ordinarily ascend to the higher dimensions that, based upon the extent of its development, could be moving to the second or higher harmonic universes. However, as a result of the invasion by the fallen, non-organic negative aliens who have conquered Earth for quite some time now. Oh, we've already read that. Hold on. And this has escalated ever since almost 26,000 years BC, the time of the Luciferian rebellion, when the Anunnaki joined the horde of Orion reptilian negative aliens to cooperatively put humanity under unconsciousness enslavement, so our divine organic solar energetics could be easily harvested, feeding their parasitic vampiric appetite and their doomsday black hole technology, with enough energy spared to be stored in their Moloch tanks for future usage. More pertinently, during the 5,500 year or so that coincide with the time of the Sumerian Egyptian infiltration, they have blank slated or wiped out our consciousness memories, also destroying any other evidence of the true account of our history that would have otherwise remained and would have been accessible. And the remnants of what exists were entrusted to a group of secret societies with members of their own bloodline who regard themselves as the elites, commonly referred to as the Illuminati, who were put in the position of power and control over others who are, in fact, traitors to the human race, having chosen to act as the negative alien puppets upholding their interests on the planet. They say that history is always written by the victors. Thus, to the unfortunate advent of such elitist society who have always guarded the true history of humanity under penalty of death for their entire line, in the event such secrets were divulged to the public, together with the misinformation disseminated to the public as propaganda, effectively hiding and derailing humanity from the discovery of the truth effectuated through the use of mind slide programming, the real extraterrestrial agenda has always remained hidden from Earth humanity. Note that, in essence, both benevolent and malevolent extraterrestrials have always been present and involved with this planet for millions of years. In fact, they have never left this planet. In this respect, the negative aliens managed to put a significant Metatronic consciousness reversal system in place in which our morphogenic field would be effectively blocked, denying us any chance for evolutionary consciousness expansion and ascension. Now you hear that? A huge undertaking to keep us dumbed down and unaware that we should be ascending out of the planet. And I just want to touch back a little bit and say, this is why I go so hard against the people claiming that the Anunnaki are their ancestors and they are someone to be reverenced and worshipped and looked upon highly. These are your captors, okay? These are your slave masters. And I know we can't save everybody, but if you are over here, then obviously, you're meant to ascend further. The individuals who are literally checking the skies for their ancestors to return from them are waiting for their slave masters to return for the slaughter. Black people, and I use this term, black. Black. Black people are not the same as copper tone people. I am not black. Anybody who is awake and aware is not black. The people that you see out here causing all this havoc, because black is not a race, it's not a nationality, it is not a people. It's not. Those individuals are slated for removal. They are slated for, actually, because they're going back to their slave owners, and they will go to another timeline on the same density, because these individuals hold a low frequency. And this is not just black as in skin color, because copper tone people and black people have the same skin color. Copper tone people have a different energetic frequency than black people, and this is the same across the board with any nationality or race of people. There are individuals who are black because of their energetic imprint. Okay, black is a fungus in the body. Black is dead in the body. Black is soulless. It's a soulless individual. Those individuals are slated for removal. They are actually programmed for self-destruction. So we'll talk about that later. So let's move on. This is what is commonly referred to as unplugging our DNA, which entails putting holographic frequency fences in our morphogenic field, in which our bioenergetic chakras as particle accelerators would not open and activate, thus blocking our genetic evolution, confining us to a mere 2 out of 12 DNA strand system. Now, if you are someone who has been a part of my book studies or my soul family, I took you through an entire ascension protocol where I was giving you all quantum frequency healing. And in those quantum frequency healings, we did chakra attunements, and we also did morphogenic field clearing through frequencies, because frequency is the new healing modality. It's going to take the place of Western medicine, because we have to go back. We have to go backwards to move forward. So we're going to actually go back to the ancient ways of healing with frequency and sound vibration. Okay, scalar waves. And so I have been given a program by my higher guidance in order to assist with that, because normally undoing all of this that has been done in order to attack the human race would take lifetimes in different timelines in order to get that work done. It would take a while, but this is a accelerated ascension protocol. Okay. So thus, with only 3 chakras possibly having the chance of opening and activation, we were effectively imprisoned within the first harmonic universe, comprised of the highest density of triad of space-time dimensions. This restricted us to only being able to possibly interface with the lowest portion of the 4th dimension, referred to as the astral plane, that epitomized the negative alien's domicile of operation to effectuate and oversee our unconsciousness enslavement. Okay, so as I've mentioned before, the 4th dimension has actually been taken over by the negative entities. And at one point in time, it was black people who considered themselves spiritually conscious, out there trying to astral project onto the astral plane. And I'm trying to warn them, stop going on the astral plane. These are tricks and traps. You get up on the astral plane, and I heard a young lady yesterday say, don't be afraid to go up on the astral plane. They make it seem like, you're going to get detached from your body, and you should just go out there and experience it, right? I'm sitting up here going, and young lady, where did you get that information from? Because right now, I'm going to tell you, humanity is under the curse of disinformation. Everybody has a podium. Everybody has a soapbox. Everybody has a podcast. Everybody has a voice in your ear. And just because you hear somebody saying it and it sounds right and it sounds good and it sounds super spiritual does not mean that crap is right. I mean, I'm listening to this young lady and she going, go out there and astral project, and don't be, listen, I'm not saying that you should be afraid, but what I'm saying is use wisdom and use caution, because there are rules and regulations to a lot of this stuff that you all have not been privy to. And I remember when the black community was just hauling off and going out there, and there was an individual teaching them how to astral project, literally telling them that gods was on the astral plane wanting to have sex with them, and there were dum-dums who was literally doing it, only to find out after I had told them and they talked crap about me being afraid. No, I'm not afraid of anything, but I am cautious and I use wisdom, and I do know that there are entities here that know that humans have been dumbed down and humans do not have all the information. And so they lure you out here, get you out there, and you have what's called a silver cord that keeps you attached to your body when you go out on the astral plane. However, if you go out there and you do something, you consent to something, like they can fool you into giving up your consent, or implied consent, which a lot of individuals don't even realize is a real thing. Implied consent can put you in a situation to where you say yes to doing something, and now they have access to your energy because you let them in. They cannot do anything without your permission. But if your dumb self seeks out to lucid dream or go into astral and astral project and go onto the fourth dimensional plane to consent to have sexual intercourse with an entity, then you are essentially giving up. You're giving up your free will. And once you give up your free will, they have access to you. They have access to you. You've now opened portals into your domain. They can come and go as they please. They can do whatever they want, and you have no idea why now your life is turned upside down, because you opened up a portal. You consented to intercourse, which means now they have access to your soul now. And then when you come down and you finish having your good time, you have formed an attachment. An entity has attached to you. And that's going to come back and bite a lot of people, because there's something called there's something called karmic debt, and they will trade their karmic debt with your free will. See, a lot of people don't even understand how that works. How is that even possible? Because of implied consent. But you don't read the small print, and of course all of these self-appointed gurus, they don't tell you that. Most of them don't even know. So now you're giving up your free will in exchange. You taking on their karmic debt, and now they get a free ride into the third dimension in order to have a human experience, and you was trying to get out there and have a supernatural experience or a spiritual experience. They are trying to get back here to have a physical human experience. They want to experience all the lower root chakra behaviors. Now this is how people come back, and now they have what do they call it? Oh, I can't think of the name of it. If I think of it, I'll bring it back. They have sexual addictions, right? All of a sudden they have these sexual addictions, or now they got a drug addiction, some kind of addiction, and they don't understand how. That's not you that has that addiction. That's the attachment, the entity attachment that you got from going out there and opening yourself up to something, consenting to something to take over and possess your body. No, they're not going to come to you and say, do you agree to let me, latch on to your energetic field and take a ride back into the third dimension? You'll never say yes to that. But the minute that you consent to something like sexual intercourse with an entity, yeah, that's implied consent. All right. So in order to ensure that their nefarious process of imprisonment under the condition of unconsciousness continues on, they devised a series of holographic inserts that compels humanity to experience a phantom timeline of reality that is a highly distorted version of our originally devised divine organic consciousness reality. Isn't that something? Phantom timeline. That's the false matrix that a lot of people are in, the illusion. That's the illusion that they're in, and they believe it to be true. And to understand the nature of these holographic inserts, visualize putting a series of intermediary holographic lenses that apertures would distort our holographic reality, effectively condemning us to a false timeline of existence. So in other words, let me just explain something real quick, and then we're going to wrap it up when I get to the end of this, because I don't want to go more than 35 minutes. We'll do a part 2. Let me say this: false timeline of existence. There are a lot of people who have fallen into, and I talk about this a lot, there is a false white light agenda. False white light agenda that so many star seeds and light workers and earth seeds have fallen into. It is this false spiritual bypassing of love and light, and everything's great, and just ignore the evil and it'll go away. Wah wah wah. All that is BS. That is a false holographic reality. So there are people right now who are thinking, because they look away from the negative stuff going on in the world, and only look at positivity, that they're now creating this reality when they're really not. It's a false existence. It's a false existence, because let me tell you, if you spiritually bypass, which means instead of you looking at the dark and transmuting that darkness, instead of you allowing that negativity to come in, you have the emotion and transmute it. That's really what starseeds are here for. The other individuals, I don't know what y'all job is, but I know that for a starseed, our job, because we hold that higher energetic frequency, our job is to go face to face, look at that darkness. Look at it for what it is, the ugliness. I mean, you may cry through it. I spent 2 weeks crying when I discovered about these children. But my job was to take that darkness and transmute it and turn it into an action. Now, there is some quantum work that we do, that all humans can do. When you look at it and you see it, your anger, you need to be moved to anger. You need to be compelled to take an action, because just turning your head away from the darkness on this planet is not beneficial to anybody, especially yourself. And I really, really, truly feel sorry for the people who spiritually bypass and think that that's what they're supposed to be doing, because all these other fake shamans and fake super gurus are telling them that. But you're going to find yourself come face to face, because when you don't deal with it on an energetic, on an internal level, it's going to manifest itself in the form of a thought form. It's going to manifest itself on the physical plane. This is what humanity as a whole is about to walk through, because they have been spiritually bypassing, they have been ignoring, and the fact that they ignore the abuse, the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, the pedophilia, they're ignoring all of this as it's concerning the most innocent on the planet. They're about to slow walk through hell. You're not going to be able to ignore what's about to manifest on the planet. And this is a direct manifestation from within each one of these individuals who think that ignoring the darkness makes the darkness go away. No, it doesn't. It empowers the darkness even more, and it makes it physical. This is how this 3D realm works, and it's necessary. It's necessary because the planet has to ascend. So you have to be brought to a place of choice where you choose. Now, I know some individuals say not choosing is a choice. That's not necessarily so. Not in this aspect. Not for the ascension timeline. For the ascension timeline, you are going to have to decide what path you take. And if you don't make a decision, the choice is your choice is made based on your heart frequency, your heart resonance, based on your compassion and the things like that. Because like I said, when you see a child being injured, if you turn away because it's not your child and it's not your business, and I hear people constantly saying, mind your business, that's not your business. When it comes to the children and it comes to helping others, your compassion should kick in. And universal law says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and do others no harm. When you follow those guidelines, you will help even when it's not your business. You will help. You will stand for integrity and morality. You will stand for those things when it's necessary. And nobody's going to hide. Don't think that you're going to move somewhere to a quiet corner and ignore what's going on and that you're going to hide. I promise you, you will not. You will not hide. It's going to come right to your front door and you're going to be forced to deal with it. Okay? So let's read this last part. And to elaborate on this further, these holographic inserts are, in essence, mind control programming that through imposing and compelling self-destructive behaviors such as various addictions would culminate in not only keep our frequency of consciousness at low levels, imposing the reality of duality driven by different levels of ego, they also manage to condition us as docile beings in slumber, asleep, for them to be able to easily siphon our energy. So spiritual bypassing puts people asleep. And I have heard people, and all I can do is shake my head. I've heard people say, no, I'm not going to look at the negative. I'm going to stay in my bubble. Listen, all I can say is my heart go out to you, because all that does is keep you asleep. It don't stop your enemy. It keeps you asleep from being prepared and being aware of what's coming upon you. And it takes away your ability to transmute. That's the only way that you can defeat the darkness and the negative agenda, is to transmute it. You cannot ignore it away. You cannot fight it away. You can't fight it, right? Because what you resist persists. But it can compel you to the opposite action, which in turn transmutes their energetic threat. If you don't know how the quantum realm, how the quantum field works, then you're going to be up Hint Creek. You're not going to know how to transmute and turn the darkness into light. The darkness can only be transmuted to light through you, through your heart, not by ignoring it. So I'm sorry for y'all who's gonna sit up there and watch the negative agenda come right into your life and wreak havoc, and you're not gonna know what to do because you ignored all the warnings and you ignored all the instructions for preparation. So good luck to you. Peace, love, and blessings, Divine Naga. And I'll be back with part 2.